Well, hello and welcome to the Light Reading Podcast. I'm Jeff Baumgartner, a senior editor at Light Reading.
And I'm Giles from Bango.
Giles, hey, welcome back to the podcast. Good to see you again after we connected here in the Denver area at Stream TV show just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here, and that was a fantastic event. I thought. I don't know how you got on with it, but I was actually blown away. Having done the last couple, it seems to have grown in size, and the atmosphere was brilliant. I have to say, they've done a great job there.
Yeah, I think I learned a few things. It was interesting to kind of a lot of conversation was like, "Hey, you need to be on YouTube." It was kind of the bent of a lot of the discussion. It's like if you're not on YouTube, you're not trying. Kind of based on where some of the younger generations are going to consume all their video. But I thought that was interesting. I had a few takeaways from that. We talked. Oh boy, it's been a couple of years ago, I think, and I think in the meanwhile, you've been working with a lot of other service operators to help them develop and manage the bundles that they're offering their customers. But maybe just to begin, just to help everybody get their bearings on Bango, talk a little bit about the origins, the company, and what you're focused on these days and how you work with these partners to build and manage bundles for their customers. And then we'll kind of get into, hey, why is bundling such a big deal right now?
For sure. So this is actually Bango's 25th year. We're also AIM listed, so we've been around a while and we have some public profile. We started off working in the mobile space, ringtones, and then into direct carrier billing. And direct carrier billing has been huge for us. For those who don't know, this is when you go to pay for something, and instead of choosing a credit card, you choose your mobile operator as a payment method. And we've been doing that for many years, particularly big in Japan, where you can actually buy physical goods on your phone bill, which is sort of unique to that market. And we do something like $8.5 billion of transactions over there for Amazon.jp and a few others. So that's been our origins. And in the last 4 or 5 years, we created a product called the digital vending machine, which is enabling companies to sell subscription products that belong to other parties. So based on our origins through mobile operators, that's where we've started. So we spend a lot of time talking with mobile operators and those companies that have products that they would like to offer for various reasons. We'll go into that, no doubt. And we're sitting in between all of that. So we're enabling the subscription bundling. We're doing things like managing entitlements, figuring out who needs to be charged what and when, and ensuring those charges are placed on customer bills if required, and all sorts of other enabling features, dashboards, and so forth on top of that to help with subscription bundling.
Yeah, and ringtones. I forgot about those. Yeah. Origins go back to ringtones. I think I maybe spent like $20 in ringtones, in those days. But we've definitely moved on quite a bit over 25 years. So okay, well, good. So let's talk a little bit about like what you're focused on now, then, and kind of why or how bundling has evolved. Particularly among service operators that are trying to figure out their role in this world, right? Because a lot of these are broadband operators that maybe some of them might have their own pay TV services, but a lot of consumers have obviously gravitated to a lot of these DTC offerings, and I think you kind of help them have a role in all this and still have like a billing relationship or just a relationship, going forward in this world of subscriptions. So how has that evolved, and why has it become so important?
Yeah, so I guess if we talk back to the origins of bundling and mobile operators, initially for those of us who are old enough to remember the days when it was a kind of novel thing to have minutes data and SMS priced together in one price point, bringing
Mhm.
together those three, what were separate things into one price point. So that was kind of the original bundle. And then mobile operators would start using bundling as a means of differentiation or for customer acquisition. And they would say, join us and get something for free. Typically, it would be Netflix or something like that for free for 12 months as a kind of sweetener. And that then evolved into multiple different content being offered or sold in one place, often called super bundling, paying for and managing multiple services in one place. And that became the kind of third generation of bundling. And now we see bundling moving out, not just mobile operators and pay TV, into other areas like banking and retailing. So there's an evolution there into other verticals. And probably the latest trend that I think we're seeing the very beginnings of are content providers working with other content providers. And there's a number of different forms of that. So, for example, Disney, Hulu, and Max. That's a sort of collaboration of different parties there selling each other's stuff in a single price pointed bundle. And we have Netflix and Max who are doing something slightly different, where through Verizon you can buy those products together for $10. So there's a different type of collaboration or co-opetition. So the world of bundling is evolving in quite a few different dimensions into other verticals and into other guises.
Yeah, so it's not just the distributors or the broadband service providers that are defining what the bundle is. Yeah, so the services themselves are like, hey, let's team up and offer a bundle. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And then from the consumer or the subscriber point of view, we're now seeing a huge rise in the number of subscription products that are being bought through these indirect channels. So we do a whole bunch of data, and our most recent big study was subscriptions assemble, and within that we saw the average US subscriber has 5.4 subscriptions, two of which are coming through indirect channels. Which is around 30%, which curiously resonates with some other data. For example, Omdia, which is a big research house, produce a lot of their own data. They estimate that of subscription video on demand, by which we mean Netflix, Disney, and so forth, 30% of all their subscriptions are now coming through indirect channels, through telco and non-telco bundling, which is huge. An
Yeah.
Antenna, which is another company who produce a lot of data from the US based on what they can see on bill receipts and other bank receipts and other sources. They're seeing that for speciality SVOD, which goes as big as, say, Crunchyroll, up to 90% is being sold through indirect channels. So we see this massive growth of bundling, and from everyone's perspective, from the reseller's perspective, from the consumer's perspective, and of course the content providers who, despite what you read, are still very much interested in customer acquisition.
Yeah. I mean, do you see that indirect channel trend rising? I mean, you see the number is already maybe a little bit bigger than I maybe surprises me a little bit. But
Mm.
do you see that trend just continuing and
Yeah,
we're going to have
definitely,
fewer
definitely.
instances, yeah, where I'm just going direct to Netflix or
Yeah,
just direct, yeah.
yeah, because there's so many motivating forces for it. The
Mhm.
resellers are interested in customer acquisition themselves, so they're using
Yeah.
bundling for
Mhm.
customer acquisition purposes and also for retention purposes. And that's where the super bundling comes in. They're able to offer multiple different types of content, paid for and managed in one place, which is convenient to the user. But the data that we have, and we did some research with Parks Associates, which showed this, the more subscriptions a customer takes, the more loyal they are to that provider. So the net promoter score increases, which is kind of a proxy for churn reduction and loyalty. So we can see the motivating forces from a number of different angles. And then, of course, the subscribers are becoming savvy. Again, going back to our subscriptions assembled data, we're seeing that subscribers are now shopping around for best offers. It used to be the case that the price was the price. It's not anymore. Now you might find, oh, if I join this bank, I get this offer. Or if I take out this service, I get this included with it. Or there's a way of getting those two services together for a different price. So it's no longer a case of you just go to the App Store and that's the price. Now you can shop around. So subscriber behavior is changing as well as the bundle economy evolves.
Yeah, I even found myself having to figure some stuff out, like how do I get a better deal? Because, for example, I had like Disney Plus and Hulu and also ESPN Plus, and I'm like, okay, who am I? Am I paying Disney Plus directly, but I'm doing ESPN through Comcast, and
Yeah.
it took a lot of time. It took a little bit of effort to try to like undo some of that so that I could
Yeah.
put everything in the bundle
Well,
and
this
actually get the benefit of having the bundle versus paying it three different ways uh, in or directly. Yeah. So
Well, this is what is known as subscription fatigue, right? People
yeah.
can't remember
The one's
how and
making me a
where
little
they've
tired. Yeah.
subscribed. One you've got on the back of a till receipt, your grocer's offered you
Mhm.
something. Another one you got with your bank. Another one you've subscribed direct through the App Store, or was it on their website? So people are forgetting how much they're spending. They can't remember how and where they've subscribed. They don't know what to do when it's time to unsubscribe. It's becoming a real mess, and as a result, people are actually also using or paying for apps they're not using, but don't have all the apps they would like to have. So it's a
Yeah.
real mess. And what people are really looking for is some way of getting back flexibility and control. And that's where the super bundling comes in. And I think Hub Research also identified the same thing. 70% of people, I think was their number, would like one place to pay for and manage all their subscriptions.
Yeah. So how do you resolve that? Right.
Well, make it easy. You user experience, make it easy. So, where we have, for example, Optus in Australia is a good partner of ours. They're offering 20 different types of content, and it's very popular content. It's the Disney Pluses and gaming and all sorts of other services, which you can pay for and manage in one place, which makes it easier for the subscriber. They know that this is where the majority of their subscriptions are going to be, and Optus are also offering some discounts on top. So buy two from Optus, get 5% off. Buy three from Optus, get 10% off. And we're seeing this kind of super bundling trend in other areas. So Telenet in Belgium's another one that we've just started with, and they gave us a case study the other day of how they're doing. Already in the first few months, they're seeing that of those people who are taking bundles from them, there's a 26% reduction in churn. So if we can give subscribers back flexibility and control, they will be more loyal to the service provider. They'll switch to that service provider, and as I mentioned before, they'll actually pay for and use more subscriptions. So it's a real. If you resolve the subscription fatigue, the paradoxical thing is that people end up spending more money and take more subscriptions.
Interesting. So if you can add or bring control to the chaos, that might actually result in additional subscriptions because at least they feel like they have a little more understanding of what they're paying for. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And this is now expanding beyond. Telcos used to just like the SVOD, so it was Netflix, Disney, Prime. Now this is expanding well beyond into fitness, gaming, food delivery boxes, and in fact, just today we released a campaign called "That's a Bundle," where we're celebrating the slightly odd combinations that people are taking because the subscription economy touches everything now. It's everything is becoming subscriptionized, and you're able to now buy everyday products on subscription, but that comes with the subscription fatigue issue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think that's great. I think, yeah, one thing, yeah, like in terms of like our coverage of the bundle, we tend to zero in on the streaming services that are being
Mhm.
combined and bundled together. Uh, Charter's been a great example, like what they're putting together, like $80+ worth of ad supported subscription streaming into the pay TV package. And I think that's going to really increase the value of that. But, that's very streaming focused. It's with the pay TV
Mhm.
package. So, they go hand in hand. But yeah, as you mentioned, there's so many other types of subscriptions out there, music, gaming, publications, and so forth. And you mentioned some, right? So how is that?
Mhm.
How are you evolving your platform to support all of those? And how do you identify those that are good candidates, to be part of a bundle, because since
Yeah.
anything can be, was it bundleized? I don't know what was the term. I can't remember what the term was, but or put
Yeah.
into these big bundles, or
Well, in many cases, we're just the enabler. So we're
Mhm.
agnostic to the type of subscription. It doesn't bother us. At the end of the day, we're managing the entitlement or right to access a subscription. So it could be a food delivery box or a Peloton bike. It doesn't matter to us. We're sitting in the middle of that, so we're agnostic to it. What tends to happen though is that it takes two to party. So someone needs to be the reseller, so they need to be the one that's motivated to do the selling. And historically, that has been the telco, generally speaking, so the mobile operator, the broadband or ISP provider, the pay TV provider. And because they were the kind of originals of the bundling world, that has led us towards more subscription video on demand than anything else. But that is now broadening out to gaming, for example. So ISPs and gaming is a great combination where particularly if you're an ISP that's broadening out to areas which didn't so far have great broadband,
Mhm.
then a great way to demonstrate that new functionality and capability that the consumer has is, well, why don't you stream gaming? That's not something you would have done before. So there's
Mhm.
some great fits there which emerge, but generally we're led by the market. So if it's, I don't know, Amazon Prime who want us to connect them around the world with telcos, that's one thing. Or if it's an ISP who wants to offer gaming, then that's another thing. It doesn't bother us. We're fairly agnostic to it.
Okay, but the lead comes from the other side. You're kind of taking the feedback and
Yeah.
determining that, versus.
I'll give you a good example. So often the operators will have a desire in mind to gain a particular user group or customer group, segment of their market they want to grow, and they might then pick and choose certain bundles and orientate a bundle package to attract a particular user group. And what we've seen in the last 6 or 12 months is AI becoming a really popular bundled product. Perplexity, ChatGPT, and others. DeepL is another. Um, these are sort of ChatGPT type services, but they do cost a lot of money. It can be in UK money £20, $20 a month to subscribe to these products. And for a lot of people, particularly younger audiences and Gen Z in particular, over indexing on AI subscriptions,
Hmm,
they would like to access these services, but they're teetering on the edge of value and affordability for those groups. So to get them as
yeah.
part of a bundle is a fantastic win for the subscriber, and therefore a very, very good one for the operator to offer.
Okay, interesting. And then, yeah, I do want to dig in a little bit more, kind of the other trends you're seeing in some of the recent studies you've been doing. But
Hmm.
yeah, I want to talk a little bit too about the kind of partners, who you partner with. A
Yeah.
lot of the work has been that we hear about is with mobile and broadband operators. A few out there like Verizon and Altice USA is a recent one. KT
Hmm.
in South Korea. So, I mean, are those your prime targets? Those types of service operators, or what other areas of the market could this apply to? I mean, you had mentioned, showing some of the evidence of streamers coming together and creating their own
Hmm.
bundles as one
Yeah.
example. But are there others that
Yeah.
are kind of emerging? Yeah.
It's really interesting. So bundling, it feels like it's one topic and one tool to solve one problem, but actually it's
Yeah.
not. It can do multiple different things. So depending on the business, like with the mobile operators, we're typically talking about acquisition. So trying to attract new customers, which can be either a straight up acquisition or a trade up proposition. So broadband do this quite well. Join this megabyte pack and get this service at this price, or go for a gigabyte and also get this thing included. So it's a kind of trade up path as well. And the differentiation I mentioned before by perhaps adding gaming or otherwise. Um, And retention, of course. So by offering multiple different types of content, retention can be a big win for whoever the service provider is. When it comes to, say, banks, so banks is an area we're looking at the moment. We have some interest there. So we might think of, again, it's a sort of trade up path, but also it's a kind of VIP club type thing. So rewarding your highest value customers. If they pay more per month, they might get a bunch of services included free with that, perks or bundles or add-ons. So there's a different sort of dimension there. Retail loyalty clubs, Walmart Plus, for example, to keep that subscription every month, you may also offer perhaps Paramount Plus or something like that. To sweeten the deal, to increase the value of it. So in retail, there's a slightly different proposition there. So there's a number of different ways that bundling is used depending on the company objectives and the nature of the company. We're also looking at automotive and airlines. There's a whole bunch of interesting bundling opportunities that are emerging this year.
Yeah, it's interesting when you mentioned banks. It kind of reminds me. Well, maybe they're finally moving beyond the days of the free toaster. And you opened an account.
Well, interesting. I was doing some research on this the other day, and I think it was Chase Bank offers $300 to acquire a new customer. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but when you think about it, they stick around for 25 years.
Yeah,
So it's probably worth it.
Yeah, it's like, talk about a sticky product. The bank.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You're probably
So once you've got them, you can keep them, but you can do that better with bundling. So if you offer them the multiple different types of content, and they can maybe pick and choose and assemble their own bundle packages, then you're driving extra loyalty there, and also you're driving them back into your app to see what's new and so forth. So there's a number of different upside benefits there, and it's better than handing over hard cash. So
Yeah, and I know this number evolves, changes all the time. How many services, if you put it all together, realizing that some might be for one region of the world, not another, how many subscription services have you onboarded, roughly?
So we have 114 different content providers connected at this point.
Okay.
So that's across a whole bunch of different categories: SVOD, productivity, gaming, sports, SVOD, if that's the right phrase. Delivery food boxes are popular in some areas of the world. So we have an ever-growing list.
Am I missing something? I don't think I've had a food box.
So
is that like if you get like dinners and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Exactly.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm.
Or assemble yourself dinners. Healthy food that arrives in packs. You chuck it in the frying pan, and
So 114. Okay. So what has to happen to get these subscription services onboarded with the entitlements and the provisioning? Is it initially like a really heavy lift, or? But once you get it done, then it's available to all the partners. So all the hard part's been done.
Yeah, that's right. So let me give you a case study. So this is from a retailer in Portugal, and Disney Plus. Disney Plus wanted to activate with or launch with this particular retailer, Continente, or yes, Continente. I can't get the pronunciation right, but it's roughly that.
All right,
in Portugal.
All right,
and around about September time last year, Disney advised us of this situation. So we got on the phone with Continente. And between September and December, we were able to get them live with Disney Plus. So in a matter of just months, they were able to get their Christmas promotion launched in the early part of September. And once they're connected, so Disney Plus is connected, of course, we work with them in a number of different ways. Continente now connected to the digital vending machine, which sits in the middle, if you can imagine that, then Continente can now access all the other connected partners, and pretty much what's left is end-to-end testing. So we're able to light up now other partners in a matter of weeks. So it can be weeks, it can be a few short months, but it's not long at all. And of course, we can do that in parallel. So we can get multiple different partners live in a very short period of time.
All right. Now, I was doing a little bit of reading to kind of prepare before we talked, and looks like Bango's been exploring social media and how and you had talked a little bit about that. some of the other types of subscriptions, but there was a study you did, and it was showing that like a quarter of Gen Zers are paying for a service like Snapchat or X, and so I guess that's just another example, right, of how the model's changing and how you're adapting. Um,
Totally.
yeah, because
Yeah, if you
yeah,
if you look at Evan Shapiro, for example, talks about generations a lot, and it's really
mhm,
really relevant when you're looking at bundling.
yeah,
So, for example, for the Netflix and Disney, the SVOD category, the average for the market, and you'll learn never to look at averages for markets after a while. The average for the market is that 76% of subscribers have an SVOD subscription. That actually drops to 56% for Gen Zers, which is really interesting. And if you look at the top three subscriptions for the total market, it's SVOD, retail, music. For Gen Z, it's music, SVOD, gaming. And the Gen Z is massively over indexed for social subscriptions and AI subscriptions, which is probably not really that surprising when you sit down and think about it. But actually, when you're planning your bundling strategy, if you imagine a Manhattan chart of all the different subscription categories that people take, for an older generation, that's a very narrow set of subscriptions that are being taken. For a younger generation, it's a very, very broad set of subscriptions. So your Manhattan chart for the older generation is going to have about 4 peaks on it. For your younger generation, all the peaks are going to be high,
yeah,
slightly lower at the top end for SVOD. So it's really interesting when you get into the generational side of things.
yeah. So again, it definitely speaks to why the breadth and depth of the bundle is changing. Yeah, yeah, in terms of how different generations, where their money's going, and I think in the same, the study also talked about like Gen Z being really heavily subscribed
Yeah.
generation here in the U.S. and paying for like 7 services and spending like 940 a year. Uh, Now, any
And
surprises there, or what does that tell you about where things are going?
well, my hunch is that there, because we see that slight dip in the SVOD number, so
Mhm.
56 versus 76 for the total market, that suggests to me that they're actually still watching SVOD, but they're getting it via somebody else. Maybe mum and dad's paying for it. So they could well have more than the 7 subscriptions. A couple of other interesting things is that they're also buying more of them through indirect channels, which plays into the savvy subscriber. I also think our data doesn't show this directly, but I think we can imply from it that they are in the savvier subscriber group. Something that is in our data is that they like indirect channels because it's faster and easier, which plays into what I was saying about, if you make it easier, give them more control, then subscribers will take more subscriptions. So it's no surprise probably that the younger generations who are more, let's say, literate when it comes to finding deals and using all these different services and avenues to, get on TikTok and learn about where the next deal is coming from, that they are taking more subscriptions. But with that, even though they're savvier and even though they're taking more subscriptions, nearly half of them are paying for subscriptions they're not using. So they're still,
Hmm.
young people.
All right, interesting. Now so you have the benefit of kind of seeing all this happen and kind of seeing where it's going. So
Mm.
tell us a little bit about how Giles tongue bundles, right? Like,
Yeah,
are
right.
you out there searching for deals and taking
I
advantage of
am.
things so that your overall costs are a little bit better than you would get if you were just buying everything separate?
Well, let me tell you a couple of stories here. So the other day, I subscribed to YouTube Premium, and I did that because I didn't want my 5 and 8-year-old kids watching adverts. So I paid for YouTube Premium, and with that, I realized, oh, it comes with YouTube Music. So that put a quandary into my mind, and
Hmm.
thought, should I also be paying for Spotify at this point?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and then I asked myself the question, well, hang on a minute. I pay for Amazon Prime. That means I also get Prime Music. So I've had music all along. So now I've got
Oh,
access to 3 different music services. So then I went through this process of a number of weeks of asking people and drawing up charts and getting ChatGPT to write comparison grids and all the rest of it. And I ended up back where I started. I'm still paying for Spotify. Why? Because it has
that's all you're
podcasts,
in.
audio books. music, playlists, the whole lot.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's the best all rounder, even though I could be getting music free twice through other services I'm already paying for, which sounds kind of crazy. Does that make me savvy or not? I don't know. At least I guess I asked the question. I'm probably like a big spender, like maybe. Um, another interesting, another interesting scenario is the zone. So DAZN in the UK, DAZN is a sports service. If anybody doesn't know it, in the UK they have a variety of different stuff. They are the ones who can give you access to NFL more than others. They do a lot of pay per view boxing, but they tend not to sell it as pay per view. They tend to sell it as you have to be a subscriber to access this. So you pay your £23 a month or whatever the number is. It's broadly that. And what I find is that I'm subscribing and unsubscribing, subscribing and unsubscribing. So it's become this kind of weird. I need to
You're a
come
turn problem. Yeah.
right. I need to come up with a name for this, but I think
Yeah.
the Zone is my most churny product. And I was watching the FIFA Club World Cup, which I didn't think I would be, but I watched it, the football or soccer World Cup, which they were showing for free. And they were constantly asking me to upgrade, to upgrade, to upgrade. And I didn't. And that made me think about this. This is so weird that I keep subscribing and unsubscribing to this particular service. And the flip side to that is something that we have got a name for, which is the forever subscription. And 70% of people have a forever subscription, which is one which they will never perceive they will cancel. And I have two, I think. One I've already mentioned, which is Amazon Prime, which is mostly for the shopping and delivery, but also they do a bit of football, and also they do some films. And also, if I want to buy a film, as I did last week, 28 days later, then I can do it through there. So I keep Amazon Prime, and the other one, of course, is Netflix, which is just endlessly pushing new, interesting, and cool stuff. I don't know if there's many 10 out of 10 content in there for me, but there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot of 7 out of 10 stuff. So I have
Enough,
these two.
enough that you're going to stick around for forever, possibly. Okay. Yeah.
Totally.
Amazon
And
Prime.
particularly,
Yeah, I'd agree because there's so. Yeah, I agree. You get it with the buying products and delivery, but yeah, there's so much ancillary stuff built in there that it's
well,
hard to
and they're also chipping
peel off
away
of
at the
that.
live stuff as well. So we get the occasional
Yeah.
NFL game. The
Sports.
Christmas
Yeah.
game was fantastic. And
Mhm.
there was some boxing last week. Again, it's another 7 out of 10 type experience. I watched some boxing from Madison Square Gardens, which was, really cool to be able to watch that in my mind for free because I was already paying for the service.
Yeah.
Definitely wasn't some I would have paid for separately. But, again, it's
But if
just
it's
enough.
there, it's like, yeah, I'm already getting it. Yeah, might as
Yeah,
well.
and talking of which, since we're on Netflix for a minute, I did some research the other day to try and work out whether subscription products are still investing in marketing, and I discovered that Netflix has spent last year 2.9 billion on marketing, which I think makes Netflix the most marketed single product in the world. I think I can't find another product that has
Now,
that kind of
what's
spend behind it.
what's the form of marketing? Yeah, because you don't really, I don't see them in like traditional advertising and stuff. So you're
Well,
talking
it's a
about
mixture.
digital.
I forget the exact number. I think it's 1.7 or 1.8 was in advertising. And
Okay.
you must see them in billboards everywhere,
Yeah.
billboards, social media, Facebook, and so forth.
And it's interesting that
Certainly
they even
billboards.
feel like they have to advertise. It's not like, oh, I forgot there's this Netflix thing going on. What is
but
what
it,
is that? Yeah.
but a good portion will also go to indirect and bundling.
I
So
see.
Netflix are one of the most prolific bundlers. They also typically on the remote control will have their logo on it, which is reminding
Mhm.
you to keep pressing it. They also appear on the screen on your connected TV. So there's a
Uh,
lot of clever stuff to keep driving you back in, back in, back in. So
well,
yeah, they are one of the biggest bundlers in the world for sure.
it's funny when you talk about like those buttons. Like to show you like how old of a Roku I've had. Like I have multiple generations, but I found a remote to like this older Roku. So in addition to Netflix, the other buttons on that remote included MGO, if you remember them, and Blockbuster. I mean, that's how old this remote
Wow.
is. Yeah, so I'll have to like post a picture somewhere on that. But yeah, that takes it back. So, but Netflix was still there. Yeah. So,
Wow.
well, good. Yeah, I wanted to just to kind of talk a little bit more about like your role at Bango, right?
Mm.
I think when we talked, every time it's like, well, next week I'm going to be in Qatar, it's like you're just like hopping around the world. So, and every time I see on like LinkedIn, you're posting from some corner of the world or another, and sometimes like, well, how did he wasn't he just like 8,000 miles away from where he was? So, how many miles did you log last year, or what are you on pace for this year? And I hope
I s
you get some
yeah.
first class seats out, out of some of this.
Well, part of our marketing plan involves events. There's a lot of events that we
Yeah,
do at Bango. I love events because they're a great way of amplifying the projects that we're doing, of meeting customers, meeting media. They just do so many things for us. So we do invest heavily in events. Um, Part of that strategy includes speaking opportunities, so presentations, panels, and
yeah,
so
of
forth.
course.
And with that, there's only a few of us who really will get on stage and do that. Our CCO Louisa, the CEO, myself, and maybe one or two others. And that means that where we're booking the events, we'll be traveling. So in November, for example, at the end of last year, I think we had something like 20 events in 1 month. So we had four of us shooting
Almost
around
one a
the
day.
world. And I think one week I did Poland, Qatar, Marrakesh, and New York, and then back home in 1 week. So, but that's fairly intense. I mean, that month in particular was kind of it was
So, are
quite
you
rock
a
and roll from that
robot?
perspective.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you must be a robot or something. Yeah, it's like I don't even know
well,
how a
that was
person
intense.
could handle so many different time zones. Such a
Yeah,
diversity
that
of
that
time zones without not knowing what time it is or when I should be sleeping. And yeah,
well, yeah, well, that's where the kind of the tactics come in, right? So some
Mhm.
people do sleeping pills on the plane and stuff. I don't do any of that. I'm like to keep it natural as much as I can. So, drinking a lot of water. Whenever I land somewhere, I try and adopt the time zone I'm in immediately. It doesn't matter how weird that makes me feel. I just think that some people will have their watch and keep it on London time. I just cannot
Mm,
do that. I have to go local time. And it doesn't matter if I'm doing one of these multi-leg things. I'll just keep changing to local, local, local. I think that's the
mm,
only way my head can cope. Um, I try not to eat on the planes because that makes me feel a bit weird. So I'll eat before or after, etc. But to answer your question, how many miles did I do? I don't know. I think I managed to keep my BA gold, so I definitely did that.
all right. So enough
This
for
year's not going
that.
to be as
Yeah.
busy. Despite just seeing you in
Yeah.
Denver, and I was in Switzerland last week. I'm not doing as much travel this year. That's for sure.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, good travel advice for the globetrotters that are out there. So maybe they should take heed in what you're doing. So I think that's where we're going to leave it for today. It was good to cover a lot of ground on what's going on in bundling and learn a little bit more about how you get around the globe. But it was great to have you on again. So good luck with your travels and maybe a little bit less, but definitely stay safe out there. So,
Thanks, Jeff. I really appreciate coming on. It's good to see you again, and yeah, thanks very much.
sure thing. All right, talk to you soon.